Live from Central Park, New York City. Back for the weekend, for the holy happy days of Simchas Torah. So, I thought we'd do a little run over here with a beautiful thought. 3 powerful questions answered by one huggable answer. And in preference, as a hakdama, as an introduction. Yesterday, I took care of my grandson, Zalman, Ben Shana, and Eliyahu. This beautiful blonde kid, blue eyes, waves to every pleasure to spend the day with him, giving the parents Chabad Family Programs 2.0 some time. And I was with him all day, carrying him stroller and everything. And then we came home, and he had a dirty diaper. That's where I drew the line. When it comes to a dirty diaper, it's a natural thing, but I hold him at arm's distance and give him to his mother. But his mother didn't hold him at arm's distance and kind of separate herself from him. She took this child with his dirty diaper and hugged him and kissed him and took care of him. So, it's one of the great things of being a grandparent. You can enjoy the children, but not have to deal with them. But the point I'm making here is really in direct response to the talk I'm about to share now from Rabbi Ashkenazi about 3 years ago. Pulled together a few beautiful thoughts. Question number 1 is, why are we even celebrating Sukkot? If you look at the scheme of things, there were 3 great miracles that happened to the Jewish people in the desert after they already left. And so all the big miracles happened, the splitting of the sea, the plagues and all that. The 3 great miracles that sustained them in the desert was the manna that came from the heaven, that was heavenly bread, and the water that flowed with them wherever they were, that was called the well of Miriam. And then there were the Ananei HaKavod, the clouds of glory, which accompanied them and protected them. So the question is, which of these 3 are more important and are more necessary, more valuable? Do you need food, water, or the luxury of the protection of the clouds? So obviously, the most important element would be water. The second most important would be food. And the least important were the clouds. Now the clouds of glory, the Torah tells us that we should celebrate Sukkot because God established Sukkot for us in the desert. And those Sukkot were actually, according to one main tradition, they were the clouds of glory. So we're celebrating the clouds of glory. Others say that they were actual huts. But the general consensus is that we're celebrating Sukkot because of the clouds of glory. What did they do? There were 7 clouds of glory up, down, all the different directions accompanying the Jewish people. And they prepared the way for them. They flattened out, miraculously obviously, flattened out the hills, elevated the ditches in the path. They ironed their clothing, they protected them from snakes and scorpions, etc., etc. So this was obviously a great benefit and a necessity, if you might say, but it's more of a luxury, more of an optional. The real necessity was the food and the water, the manna from the heaven and the water. Parenthetically, these 3 miracles came in the zuchus, in the merit of Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. Moshe, the manna, came from heaven in the merit of Moshe, as leader. The clouds of glory came in the merit of Aaron, who was his brother, and the water came in the merit of Miriam. And we know that also because when they passed away, each of them respectively, the miracles stopped. So Miriam Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. Why? Also parenthetically within the parenthetically, so they say that with Moshe, Rabbeinu sustained the Jewish people with the Torah, with the study, and therefore he merited to bring the man, which is physical sustenance also. Aaron sustained the Jewish people in a different way, by bringing peace, by bringing people together. And so too, the peace between husband and wife, man and his friend. And so too, the clouds of glory surrounded the people. That's one relationship. And another one is Miriam merited the water, because Miriam stood by the water when her baby brother Moshe was sent off in the Nile River. Okay, putting that aside, so the question remains, why are we celebrating Sukkot for the clouds of glory, which among the three great miracles that happened is the least important one? That's question number one. Question number two, if it's already biblically mandated to observe the holiday of Sukkot because of these clouds of glory, then why is it that this is the mitzvah that has the least power to it, in the sense that it is the most lenient mitzvah in the world? There's no other mitzvah in the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah that if it provides a little bit of discomfort, you don't have to observe it. And the Jewish law says about the sukkah that if it's raining and you don't appreciate the rain, hamitzta'er patur min hasukkah. If it's raining, somebody who's annoyed, who is troubled, who is pained even by rain falling into his soup, does not need to live in a sukkah or to eat in a sukkah anymore. And that is shocking, because people go through such great lengths to observe the mitzvot and to go beyond the letter of the law, no matter what the hardships and difficulties are. But when it comes to sukkahs, hamitzta'er patur min hasukkah. If it's not comfortable, get out and leave. Not that we do that, but that's the law. That's question number two. Question number three is, if the sukkah is commemorating the clouds of glory, which then the clouds of glory had seven, there were seven clouds of glory in all different directions, why don't we have mandatory 7 walls in a sukkah? Why? For the sukkah, we do 4 walls regularly, but you can also have 3 walls, you can also have 2 walls, and a little bit of a third. So that's a commonly known question. Now, to answer that, it's one answer that answers all 3 questions. And that is from the Pri Etz Chaim, from the Arizal. And everyone knows this answer, but this sheds more light on it, and it makes it more beautiful. And that is that God really created Sukkot for us different than all other holidays, different from the other holidays. The holidays generally are something like this. They wanted to kill us, God saved us, let's eat. We all know that one, right? But over here in Sukkot, it's not about killing us, it's not about God saving us, it's about God providing us comfort, just spoiling us. That's why the title is Sukkot Spoiled. For God, in this holiday, is telling us a different message. He's telling us not that I need to keep you alive, I need to give you bread and water so that you will be sustained, so that my Torah and mitzvahs and my world will go on. No, I don't need to keep you. I want you. I love you. I cherish you. I want to spoil you. And that's what the sukkah hug is about. Everyone knows that the sukkah walls are like a hug, in which that's why we have the sukkah, the word sukkah, samach, has 4 walls to it. The kaf has 3 walls. The hay has 2 and a little bit. And that's like a hug of a person putting their arm around you, representing the hug that we unconditionally accept another. So too God is telling us, I love you for who you are, for what you are. I unconditionally accept you. And this is why the Sukkot holiday, this answers the 3 questions above. Number 1 is, why are we celebrating the clouds of glory rather than the water and the food? We don't see any holidays that have water, that celebrate the water of Miriam and the man that came from heaven. But we do celebrate the Sukkah. And the answer is because over here God is just spoiling us and telling us, I love you for who you are. And the same answers the question is why if somebody's troubled, he's exempt from the Sukkah. That is because God says, I don't want you to be in any pain or discomfort. I just want to enjoy the company, enjoy the mitzvah. And finally, why doesn't the Sukkah need to have 7 walls? Because that's not the point. The point is the hug. So it is about the luxury and the protection, and it's related to in the prayers on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We reach out to God and we say, God Almighty, im kibanim, im ka'avadim. How will you treat us? Like children or like servants? And both are necessary in a sense. But over here, the Sukkah one is like children, not like servants. Like a servant, a master always needs to take care of his servants because he needs them. He needs to feed them and clothe them and protect them and give them shelter. But a parent doesn't need to take care of their children. They want to. And they do it with love. Even if they have a dirty diaper, as I mentioned earlier, they do it with a hug and with a kiss. And that is the story of Sukkot. And finally, it's just a reminder that tonight is the final night of Simchas Pesach Shveva, of dancing. If you're able to get to a dancing place anywhere in your local community, go dance. The Rebbe would say that the streets themselves should dance, and that's what happens in Crown Heights. It happens everywhere else. And finally, in Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres in Simchas Torah, they say what you can affect with the dancing, Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. You can affect the joy and the health and benefit for all year round. Those 48 hours are very important. So let's dance the night away. God bless you. Chag Sameach. See you next week, hopefully, in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm enjoying a beautiful day in New York City right now with my shirt that my wife made, mitzvah shirt, if you can see it. And God bless you all. Take care.